When I said yes to Caleb, I never imagined anything in this world could break us apart. He was my Prince Charming, the man of my dreams, but life had other plans. I met Caleb at my cousin's art event. He wasn't just handsome. His charisma and intellect swept me off my feet. He was kind and successful, everything I ever wanted in my husband. Even our families got along so well as if they've known themselves for a long time. My parents were eager to make him their son, and I couldn't wait to be part of his family. We were practically inseparable and loved each other to a fault. After 2 wonderful years of courtship, we decided to tie the knot. But my dreams of a happy marriage came crashing down during our marriage counseling. I discovered Caleb had betrayed and lied to me and our families for 2 years. Dr. Mimi revealed that Caleb and I were both AS. I was stunned because Caleb told me his genotype was AA 2 years ago, and apparently, he told his family that my genotype was AA as well. I couldn't wrap my head around why he would do such a thing. I was devastated. However, Caleb pleaded with me, saying he had told me he was AA in faith, believing God would work a miracle before our wedding. I was so heartbroken that I couldn't even speak. Our families were devastated as well. Everyone was angry at Caleb. I cried and hoped it was just a bad dream I would wake up from, but it was my reality. Caleb kept crying and begging me to marry him still. I cannot live without you, Rachel. I lied in faith because I didn't want to lose you, he cried. I cried a lot too, and I also couldn't imagine my future without him, so I made an irrational decision. I agreed to a secret wedding without the consent of our families, but our families found out and stopped the wedding. A month later, Caleb traveled to the UK to work with his rich uncle and to start afresh. We kept in touch for a while, but 4 months later, I noticed he started to withdraw. It took him days to reply to my messages. Then, when I complained, he said it was work at first, before he told me his uncle advised that we should stop communicating so that we could both heal. It was a bitter pill to swallow. I didn't know how I was going to move on, so I buried myself in work, registered in the gym, and binge watched Z-Word and Korean movies just to keep my mind occupied. Then, just a year after he traveled, his mother called to tell me that he was getting married to another woman in Scotland. I wanted to tell you myself, she said. You know you mean a lot to me, Rachel, and I pray and hope you will also find a man deserving of you. I almost choked on my tears while saying amen to her prayers. I was completely shattered. I couldn't believe he would move on so quickly. I felt cheated and stupid, and I wondered if he loved me at all. However, it was also a wake up call, a sign that I needed to move on and stop crying over spilled milk. 4 months later, I went to my grandmother's to spend the Christmas and New Year holidays, and there I will meet another man called Kwame. The way I met Kwame was funny. I had just freshened up. I was eating when Mama Itoro, my grandmother's friend and neighbor, rushed into our house to plead with me to drive her to the airport. Our driver has called in sick, she said, and it was 7 p.m. Before I could say anything, my grandmother urged me to go. I would later learn we were going to pick up our godson, Kwame, who was coming from Ghana to spend the holidays at ours. I wondered why he couldn't take a taxi or Uber, but I kept my thoughts to myself. Kwame met me at my grandmother's poultry the next day to introduce himself properly. He told me how shocked he was to hear that I was weeks away from my food to pick him up from the airport. I am so sorry, Rachel, he said. I assured him I wasn't offended and that I would do anything for Mama Itoro. After our initial meeting at the poultry, we met and talked every day. I felt like a teenager in love. He told me Mama Itoro and his mom are best friends, practically inseparable, although love carried his mother to Ghana. What I admired most about Kwame was his easygoing nature and intimate relationship with God. As a successful novelist in Ghana, he has his unique way of drawing you into his world, talking about his books and other books passionately. And as an avid reader myself, I found it infectious, the way he breathed life into his characters and stories. But even though I felt this undeniable connection with him, I didn't want to rush into anything again without God's consent. So I prayed and trusted God that if Kwame and I were meant for each other, He would make it clear in His own time. And with every prayer, I began to see that this fresh start wasn't just about love, it was about finding myself again. When the new year came, I was excited. There's so much I wanted to accomplish and so many goals I had set for myself. The new year was about growth, spiritually, emotionally, and professionally. On the 10th of January, we said our goodbyes and went back to our places of residence. Kwame kept in touch, and as the days went by, we got closer and closer. We talked about everything: my job, his future projects, investment plans, family, I mean everything. Then one afternoon, I dozed up at the office. I heard my boss's voice saying to me, Rachel, get ready to go to Ghana and be with Kwame. I woke up and there was nobody there, and my office door was closed. I quickly called his executive assistant to ask if our boss was done with the board meeting, and she said no. I knew then that it was God. I had always felt that Kwame could be the one, but I told God that I would not imagine it unless He told me so. I was not ready for another mega outbreak. I was both happy and sad because it would be difficult for me to leave my job and go to Ghana. But the next day, my boss came into my office with a wonderful news. I have an offer for you, he said. What is it, sir? I asked. We are no longer opening a branch in Abuja, he said. The board decided we should expand to other African countries instead. So we've decided to open a branch in Ghana. And we have chosen you to head the branch in Ghana. That is if you want it. It is an open offer. I was so elated and I had goosebumps all over my body. When my boss finished telling me the perks that came with the offer, I told him I was honored and that I accepted the offer willingly. Congratulations, Rachel, he said. You've got 3 months to prepare. He shook my hands and left. I wanted to scream for joy, but I had to restrain myself because I was in the office. I didn't tell Kwame because I wanted to surprise him when I got to Ghana. 3 weeks later, on a Saturday morning, I was awoken by laughter coming in from the sitting room. I also thought I heard my grandmother's voice, so I ran downstairs. It was true. My grandmother was there with my parents and Kwame. Before I could blink, Kwame went on his knees and started talking. I never wanted to come to Nigeria last year's December, he said. I had piles of work on my desk, but God insisted I visit my godmother. It was weird because my godmother was in Ghana just 4 months before that time for my mother's 70th birthday. But when he kept insisting, I had to obey, even though I didn't know why. Then immediately I saw you at the airport. He said to me, Kwame, she's the reason I asked you to come. And then 3 weeks ago, he told me it was time to ask you to marry me. Rachel, please marry me. When Kwame asked me to marry him, I burst into tears. It was everything I ever dreamed of and more. And I said yes, confident that I will be the happiest woman in the world. In case you are wondering, his genotype is AA. Mama Itoro confirmed it. God indeed gives us double for our shame. Thank you for watching, awesome people. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe, leave a comment, like, and share. And remember, every heartbreak or disappointment is a step closer to finding yourself.